Hello, everyone. I am officially live. I am so nervous. This is my first time going live in years. I think I went live in 2017 for the first time, and I think this is the second time I've ever gone live before. So I am excited, nervous, ready to have fun, but just a little on edge. So welcome whoever is watching and whoever joins or sees this live at any point. I am in the pre-launch phase of my very first book. I am so excited to launch my story and to launch my book, Survival to CEO, A Single Mom's Journey to Millionaire, One Fence at a Time. It has taken me 40 years to create this story, first of all, because if I didn't live through what I actually lived through, I wouldn't have a book to write about. And so now it all makes sense. But at the time, going through the trenches of life at some points felt very like, am I ever going to get out of this? Am I ever going to start living a better life, getting to where I wanted to go? I had so many dreams and so much that I set out to do, and life did not turn out that way. The beginning of my story, the book essentially is my memoir. So it starts when I am a little girl, and it's 12 chapters, and it goes through all the different chapters of my life to present day. And the reason why I actually want to tell this story is because I remember the version of me that was 40 years old, looking for a way out, looking for help. Financially, I was struggling. Emotionally, I was struggling. I really, really wanted change, but I was scared to make change because I didn't even know what was the right thing. I had been through 4 businesses failing, and failing badly. Bankruptcy, foreclosure. I have been through some deep, dark things. And after that, getting divorced, raising 3 kids on my own, learning how to take care of myself for the first time after being divorced, but also having 3 kids in tow, and not knowing how we were going to get by. Week to week, month to month was very, very much a struggle. So I was at the point where, I had been through all of these things, and I want to relate to that version of me. There are many, many people that are going through that in their lives right now. Financial struggle, divorce, being a single parent, failing at a business, failing at 2 businesses, or failing at 4 businesses like I had. And just not knowing where to turn and if there was any hope for them. So that is exactly why I wrote the book, because I remember what that felt like. And I know specifically the changes that I made within myself to get to where I am today. Today, I run a $1 million company in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I now live in the house of my dreams. I have a nice vehicle. We have a pool in the backyard. A lot has changed. In 7 years, my life is completely different than it used to be. And this this is why I wrote the book. I want to provide hope to people that are struggling, to people that are looking for a way out or looking for somebody to just hear them and see them at whatever they're going through. And I don't get into a lot of teaching in my book, but there is definitely, throughout the later chapters, there's definitely some shifts that I made in my mindset, in what I was actually doing to spend my time, in things that I did with my finances that created this snowball effect of change over time. I didn't know that the change was happening at the time or how it was gonna actually play out into my life. I just knew that whatever I was doing was not working. And so as you read the later chapters of the book, you really start to see, the actual changes that I made and the shifts that started to occur to snowball and create the life that I live today. And looking back at my life, like 7 years is a while, but it feels like the blink of an eye. From where I'm sitting now to really, really feeling what it's like to live on the other side of the struggle. And, I made it through the divorce, and now my kids are grown up, and, we remember what it was like during those days and how hard it truly was when you don't know how you're gonna, pay rent at the end of the month or pay the bills before the power gets cut off. Or, there was a time in late October when the heat was cut off in my house, and I had a friend come by and my house was freezing cold, and I had to make up some kind of story that the furnace was broken to explain why my house was cold. But the furnace wasn't broken at all. It was just that the heat had been cut off, and I didn't want to admit it to anybody. That's some true struggle. In Canada, you can't have the heat just turned off in October. I mean, it's thankfully not that cold, but still, that is, I was constantly looking for where my next dollar was going to come from. And I really didn't feel worthy of, making a decent income. I felt like a disaster in my life. My lifestyle was not conducive to running a successful business, let alone, raising 3 kids. And I was so emotionally tapped out on just trying to get through day to day that I was not the best mother to my kids. Not that I was a terrible parent, but I was emotionally unavailable. I was thinking about what we were gonna, what food was on the table. I wasn't thinking about if I could help them with homework, because homework was honestly, that had to wait. I was seriously looking for a way to put food on the table. So I can look at my life now and I see the changes that I made. And none of them were anything external that requires luck or having anything served to me on a platter. They were all shifts that I made within myself. And now that is the biggest thing that I have learned, is the shifts that I made within myself, the stories that I was telling myself in my own mind. As soon as I changed those, that's when my life began to change. I, began to really do the inner work. And that's the work that we tend to avoid. And that's the work that we can easily be distracted from because it's hard. It's hard to look at yourself. It's hard to take responsibility. It's hard to take accountability. It is hard to look yourself in the mirror and know that you're the problem and it's actually not anything external. And that's the work that I started to do that created the change, really. So knowing now what I didn't know back then is the hope that I want to provide to others. I was looking for hope. I was looking for a way out, and I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know what I needed to change. And that is what I want to share in my book. This is why I wrote the book. I need to share with the world that anything is possible. And I know that we can hear that wherever. You hear that from people, but then you think, oh, sure, they were born into money, or they weren't raised like I was, or they came from a stable home where the parents were together, but whereas, I was born to a single teenage mom. I had reasons to justify why life was a struggle for me and why it appeared to be easier for others. But those are the stories that we need to admit to ourselves and we need to change in order to create change in our lives. I really want to help others and relate to others that are struggling or need help with their business, or, need help with their mindset, or, maybe they're single parent. I can relate to all of those things. And over the years, I've really discovered that the people around me, whether they're working with me in all the various businesses that I've had, or, my current business that's successful and thriving, I've always had, people kind of gravitated to me because they have business questions, or they have single mom questions, or they want to know what it's like to go through divorce or bankruptcy. And I've been through all of that. I know, what it's like. And I want people to know that they're not alone. I remember feeling very alone and very ashamed of the situation I was in. And I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't necessarily trust a lot of people, but anybody that offered me, even just to listen to what I needed to vent about my current life, anybody that would listen was helpful. And now I feel like I'm that person that can help others to know that they're not alone, and to know that a lot of the things that we shame ourselves for kind of are normal. We don't know that it's normal because we don't want to talk to anybody about it. We don't want to admit the shambles that we might be living in. But once you do start talking, you really realize how common it actually is, but nobody's talking about it. And those are the things that we beat ourselves up over. And we beat ourselves up alone in our own minds. And I want people to know that they are not alone. There is a way out, and there is support for them. And the way out, it feels hard, but it's really not that hard because you have control over when you want to begin little micro changes. You have control over what exactly you want to change. You're the one that can decide, and you're the one that has the power to decide in every moment of every day where your life is gonna go or where you want it to go. So that is, in a nutshell, in all of my nerves and all of my, I have not done a live video since 2017. I think I've only done a live video one time before. So here I am sitting here shaking, wondering off the cuff, what am I going to say? I don't know. I know that I want to promote my book, and I know that my book will provide a lot of help to those that are, that can relate to parts of my story. And I mean, even if you're not struggling, you don't have to be struggling to read my book. I think that my book, really relates to people that are, thriving in life and celebrating what they've come through and are now, living in a much better position that they can look back and be like, wow, we really got through a lot of crap, right? So there is a lot of celebration towards, the later chapters of the book. So it really relates to so many people at so many different stages of life, and particularly to being born and raised in Canada and in Saskatchewan. We're kind of our own community that my story will really impact a lot of Saskatchewan girls born and raised in a small town, small city. Thank you so much for all of the comments that are coming in and all of the people watching. I'm like so nervous to be on this. Honestly, I was asking my mom, like, what am I supposed to say? I don't know. She's like, just start talking. You'll be fine. And I mean, here I am. I've already been talking for 15 minutes. Who knew? But that is really what I wanted to share. Why I wrote my book. My story is definitely going to inspire somebody out there, whether it's one person, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, who knows? But there is a lot of hope for the people out there that need hope. And I know that in the conditions of the world, there are a lot of people that need some hope. And where I'm sitting now, I know that it doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been through, the shambles of the world, what the economy is doing, what kind of work you're in, what kind of work you want out of, no matter where you're at in life. Everybody has possibility in front of them, and there is nothing stopping you from creating the life of your dreams. I don't care who tells you what you can or can't do. So many people did not believe that I would ever be where I am today. I didn't believe that I could get to where I am today. And looking back, now I know. There is nothing stopping us from having everything that we want. There is nobody that can decide how successful you are or aren't. It starts and it ends with you. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments. I can't wait for everybody to read it. Honestly, there are some stories in this book that I'm like, should I put that in? I really don't want to, but I have to, because that's my story. Those are the parts of me that nobody knows. And, you know, it's really nothing to be ashamed of. And even though I felt so much shame at the time, those are the parts of the story that create, you know, the impact of where I've been to where I've come from. And those emotional parts that I really don't want people to read or to know are the exact things that will connect to others. So thank you. You guys, people are starting to comment and I'm like, oh my God, people are watching. I'm freaked out. I have, so I actually teamed up with a publishing company out of the States to write this book, because I have been trying to write a book for, like, I swear to God, I've picked up the pen for probably 20 years. I always felt like there was something that I wanted to write about and something that I wanted to share, but I would get, you know, maybe a chapter or two. I think I got to about 3 chapters at one point on my own. And then I would just drop the pen and not really know, you know, does it sound good? I don't know. Is it too much? Is it not enough? I just didn't know, you know, if I was writing in such a way that people would actually want to listen or stay engaged in the story. And so I got to this point last fall where, you know, I hit the $1 million mark in my business. And you guys, $1 million of revenue for me was like, we won the lottery. Like this, like breaking news, everyone. Like, I have gone from bankruptcy to $1 million company. Like, that alone is a big deal. And it was last fall that we hit this revenue milestone for the very first time. And it was so surreal. It still feels surreal when I think about it. And I knew now is the time. We've done it. And now the story is complete. And now I really want to write the book, right? And I had met a girl I'm in a coaching program for business, because I don't know how to run $1 million company by myself. You know, I had failed so many times. I was like, not doing that again. Somebody teach me what I need to know to run a solid $1 million company. So I joined a mastermind program with a girl, a leader out of New York City. And within that coaching program, there's, you know, 200-300 other women that are building businesses as well. And, you know, we gather a couple times a year and it's been great. But one of those girls runs a publishing company. And I had her kind of in the back of my mind, like, Jory, I should really just talk to her, right? And maybe get some tips about how to write a book. And I connected with her. I talked with her. Here's a bit of my story. I really want to write a book. And we had, you know, a 30-minute phone call, and she really helped me create the outline and then, you know, break my story into parts and what I should include and what I shouldn't and these types of things. So thankfully, I finally got to the point where I wrote the book start to finish, instead of just getting a couple chapters in and then putting it to the side for a couple of years. So teaming up with a publishing company was the game changer, because it might have taken another 40 years if I actually did it on my own. I'm so grateful for Jory just coaching me on the whole writing process and the whole publishing process. And I say all that to say, I have a marketing person that has convinced me to go live. And here I am for the first time in 8 years. I went live before when I was a struggling single mom, and I thought I was really cool and people would want to listen to me. So I went live at one point in 2017, but I have not been live ever since. So here I am with all of my nerves and all of my, I don't know what I'm going to say when I get on this call, but it seems like I'm doing okay because I've been on for 25 minutes. So, thank you for the comments. I see my family on here, Joanne, Angela, my mom, my Auntie Laverne. Thank you guys so much for listening to me. I've even got David's family on here. This is awesome. I'm so excited to share this book. It comes out May 19th. I don't even know how many days away that is, maybe 12 days from May 19th. I am kind of in this crunch time where I'm like, it's going live. I really want to share it with everybody, and I would absolutely love your support. As soon as the link is available, I will be posting it on my page, sharing it via email. I will probably throw out some text messages. It'll be on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I have now started to get a little bit of a voice on there. It's overwhelming to be on all these platforms and posting on all these things that's not my forte. I would rather hire somebody to do it for me because it gets really overwhelming. But yes, May 19th is Grandpa's birthday. Honestly, I picked this day. May 19th is Grandpa Gus's birthday. It's also great Grandma Maria's birthday. It's also mine and David's anniversary. It's been this day that I've always held, close to my heart. And when, the book was just about finished at the end of January, I was like, when am I actually going to launch this book, and how much more time do I need for it to be like completely finished? Cover is designed, like the whole thing is edited and formatted, and oh, it's Angie's daughter's birthday. Oh my gosh, this is like May 19th in our family. Honestly, it's like a really important day. It is so significant. So I chose May 19th because, yes, it is just the day that the book has to come out. There is so much of like my childhood in the book, my teenage years, Grandpa Gus, and, growing up in Rockglen, all of those summers in Rockglen during summer break, all of that is included in the story. So it's so cool. It's so cool, honestly, to sit down and write your life story, like in a nutshell. Like, how do you even put it in less than 200 pages? There's so much that you could put in a book, but I really took all of the most important parts that really build the story, right? Of like my foundation of being raised by a single teenage mother. Mom was finishing high school, finishing grade 12, and I was born, I was 1 year old by the time she was graduating. Like, that's a big deal to be a teenage mom, let alone, raising a kid these days is tough, let alone doing it when you're a teenager. Like, there's just so many parts that are so important to how I, came from one extreme to the other. Particularly financially, because we really measure success on finances, which I also talk about in the story. I don't think that is the only way to measure success, obviously. There is a lot more that we can measure to be a successful person. and just to feel like a success to yourself. That's all that matters. But we really have some stories ingrained in us at a young age that, you can't help but gather beliefs from the time you're born to the time you're 7 years old. You can't really pick and choose as a 7-year-old what you want to believe and what you don't. And we carry all of those stories and all of those beliefs with us as adults. And then we don't realize that we're operating from this system of, this is what I believed when I was, 5, 6, 7 years old, and you still believe it as a 45 or 6 or 7 years old. And you don't realize until you actually dissect the story of your life and how you've carried certain things with you from birth to present day. So that's a lot of what I talk about in my book, and there's just so much to learn from and so much to relate to all different people of all different walks of life. I have had a couple of early readers read the introduction and chapter 1 of my book, and they are people, one of them lives in Georgia. The other one lives in California. These are people that I have not even met in real life, but I have, gotten to know along the way. And I've had them read the book because I wanted to know if, people in the States or in the southern US would relate to my story, and they do. So if they can relate to my story, I think anybody can relate to my story. I have even had a guy in India read parts of my book and tell me, can you relate to this? Does this, resonate with how you grew up or how you live your life over in India? I've never been to India. I don't know. And he was absolutely touched by the story and could use parts of what I shared and apply them to his life, and has actually built first of all, went from being an employee to starting his own business, and second of all, building his business to the point where he can provide for him and his wife and his baby on the way purely on his own income that he generated in the last 6 months from being attached to my story and what I've taught him in the last 6 months. I am so honored that, I feel like I haven't even shared a lot, but people will take just nuggets of my story and apply it into their lives, whether it's by hope or belief in themselves, and have watched their life slowly start to change for the better. And that's my whole reason. If I can help one person change their life from struggling to whatever level of success they truly want, that makes it all worthwhile for me. That is why I wrote my book. And that's why I want to share it with the world. As scary as it is, it's a whole other thing to go live in front of, a bunch of people and to share your deepest, darkest moments with others. But those are the things that really connect with people and that make us human, right? We're only human. Nobody knows really what they're doing in life. Does anybody know what is the right and wrong thing to do? No, we're all just figuring it out as we go, right? And we make a lot of mistakes on the way, and we learn the hard way, and we figure it out. But it's you can sit here and think that everybody knows what they're doing. And I definitely thought that. Everybody else has it all figured out. They all know what they're doing, and I'm the only one that's failing. That's how I felt. But I was way too afraid to admit it to anybody, not even my best friend. Like, I didn't even tell David some of the stuff that I was dealing with because I was just embarrassed and ashamed, and like, I didn't even want to admit it out loud because then I would have to admit it to myself. So, you know, it's amazing the things that we do to avoid coming face to face with parts of your life. And we shame ourselves for it, and it's way better to avoid it, or we think it's better to avoid it, or to just pretend like it doesn't exist. Maybe it'll go away, you know? But those are the things that they catch up to you. And at some point, you gotta get face to face with the hard parts. And if you want to change them, you gotta get face to face with them. So, I say all of that to say thank you so much for all of your support, whether you're watching or will watch this eventually, whether you've seen my posts promoting my book, May 19th, Survival to CEO, A Single Mom's Journey to Becoming a Millionaire, One Fence at a Time. I can't wait for you guys to read this story. I apologize. I think I lost connection for a moment, but I will be going live again in the next 10 days. I think we have 20 days, however many, until May 19th. I will be going live again. I appreciate all of your guys' support that you've watched this with me for the last 35 minutes. I really appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.